Well, folks, we're back with another review and quite a few cards in this one, and I think this card's going to be really good. It's the Demon Hunter hero card, so let's jump into it. This is a new 6 mana, 5 armor hero card. Battle Cry, summon 2 1/4 demons with Rush, and those are improved by your hero attacks this game. It's been confirmed that means they're going to gain attack. So if you hero power an attack 3 times or weapon an attack 3 times, you're going to have 4/4 demons. If you do it 5 times, you're going to be 6/4 demons with Rush. So, just hero powering every turn into turn 6. You've got some really big demons that are going to react fairly well, I think, to most board states, which then gives you this hero power Ashfallen's Fury. It gives you +2 attack, and after a friendly minion attacks, you refresh it. So you can use it multiple times in a given turn. So yes, if you summon like 3 rush minions with whatever, Command the Eldari, I don't know the names of all those, but you get it, one of the mini summon rush minion cards available for Demon Hunter, then you can hero power and attack, and then hero power and attack, and then hero power and attack, and then hero power. Just 3 rush minions would give you +8 attack on your hero power for 4 mana. So, yeah, it's a lot of damage output, like an insane amount of damage output, like a scary amount, which is really finally the win condition, the closer you're looking for in a token Demon Hunter deck. And it's a scary one. I think suddenly token Demon Hunter looks like a very strong archetype. It's going to melt in duels, but also probably good in standard format. Really good, I think, actually, in standard format. I think this card is completely bonkers. With that hero power upside, I think the Battle Cry actually helps you stabilize enough. That's going to be fine to clear off some threats on board and give you that window to start smacking people with this gigantic hero power. So all in all, really, really frightening card. Very, very good, I think. And oh my god, it just occurred to me that this card is still in standard. Your hero power costs 1 less. So for 2 mana, you don't even have to spend mana to refresh your hero power. You can just play this and refresh it. So you got like 5-6 minions attacking on board alongside this. You can just refresh it for 0 mana over and over again. Oh, this is going to be really good, right? Am I crazy? This is going to be a very strong card. Alrighty, next up here, let's talk about the Pathmaker. Pretty cool card for Druid. 3 mana, 3/4 Battle Cry. Cast the other choice from the last choose 1 spell you've cast. So a great way to get some extra upside out of your choose 1 spells. And really, you're going to get kind of a bonus on this card equivalent to roughly the mana cost of whatever choose 1 card you played previously. So you play a 2 mana choose 1 card, you pick the result you want then you got like this 2 mana upside on Pathmaker, or say 6 mana for Nourish. You ramp with Nourish earlier in the game, maybe even just the turn before, and then you follow up with Pathmaker, and you get to draw 3 cards on a 3-drop. Like, that's insane. I guess you could even do that the same turn if you had some spare mana at the end of that Nourish. Start at 7 mana, play a Nourish, have 3 left, cast Pathmaker, and you draw 3 cards immediately. Like, that's really efficient card draw here on the Pathmaker. But even if you just look at like 2, 3, 4 mana choose 1 cards, you're still getting a lot of upside here, kind of on top of this 3 mana 3/4, which makes it low cost and flexible, has some crazy high roll potential like those Nourishes. If we get any other high cost choose 1 spells in the future, could be some great stuff as a result for Pathmaker as well. So I think there's some great card draw options here. There are actually some good token options where you can like summon a 3/2 Panther the turn before on curve, and then play a Pathmaker that's going to buff your board. Maybe not on turn 3, but later on, once you build a wide board, you can kind of bank this choose 1 spell upside, because it doesn't have to be immediately or even the next turn. And then, you have that +1/+1 with your 3/4 in play as well. So you get this really big wide board follow-up. There's also like Sow the Seeds for the attack buff, doing the exact same sort of thing. So all in all, I think this is good, like kind of early-ish in the game. It's a good follow-up potential later. Could work for decks that are just looking for extra resources for card draw. Could even look for decks going wide. And that's just really based on the choose 1 pool that we have access to right now. That's going to change over time. There could be some really cool options for Pathmaker in the future. So fun card. I guess the one downside is if your deck is only interested in like 1/2 of a given choose 1 card, maybe the other half's not as compelling, and that could strand Pathmaker, but just doesn't get run in decks that are that. And in the other deck, or most other decks, will probably care about both halves, or at least realize some upside on both halves of a given choose one card. So Pathmaker makes a ton of sense there. And I think this card's really good. All right, next up here we have the Amplified Snowflurry for Mage, a new 2-mana 2/3 elemental. Battlecry, your next hero power costs 0 and freezes the target. So, nice little tempo option here for maybe something that cares about elementals, something that cares about freezes, or something that obviously cares about hero power upside. So, stretching across a couple different archetypes there for Mage, which always is helpful for a card when it comes to seeing play. And of course, we've got a card like Tour Guide that has popped into a variety of different decks as a really cheap way to enable your hero power and set stuff up. And this is basically a slightly more expensive Tour Guide. In some ways, that doubling of the cost matters, but you're getting 2 additional upsides, stats, and a freeze as well. And frankly, just like being able to freeze face on demand against a deck that can use a weapon or hit you really hard is a big deal. Freezing a minion on demand that's big, it's going to whack you, is a huge deal. And given all those different ways to include this in different slices of Mage decks and that enormous upside and the proven track record for a card like Tour Guide, I think you've got yourself here a really strong card with a lot of potential. All right, next up we got the Claw Furry Adept here for Druid, a 2-mana 2/3 beast. With Battlecry, give all other friendly characters +1 attack this turn. So that is other minions on board, and of course also your face, which I think is important because this can kind of go into 2 different things. You've got, say, quest druid lines where you care about face attacks, and you've also, of course, got token strategies. Any kind of wide board, this is a really cheap follow-up that still commits a little additional pressure to the board. Sometimes if you take those like follow-up turns where you push a little extra damage and you don't like recommit to the board, it can leave you a little bit exposed. I like that this combines both of those worlds where you're adding extra stats into play long-term, but also getting that extra punch of damage. So this can be either a lethal setup or, you know, mid-game trades or just chip in a little bit of extra damage while playing through your curve. So I like this. I mean, even if it's just a 2/3 that, you know, lets you ping down a minion early in a game, it's not the best play, but it's totally fine because you're getting that 1 attack on your hero, even if there's nothing else ready to attack. And then with rush minions, of course, there's ways to put this into play immediately. So all in all, this card has a lot of output for a 2-mana card, which to me, it looks really good. Plus, you get all that stealth stuff, so any kind of minion damage follow-up can all just go face or make big plays. So really strong option here as far as I'm concerned. Big stuff for just a 2-drop. And I guess we're just on an insanely good 2-drop train because here's the Battle-Worn Vanguard for Demon Hunter, and I think it's a really good 2-drop too. 2-mana 2/2 after hero attack, summon 2 1/1 Fell Wings. So big old bundle of stats here in this one for only 2 mana, basically 3 bodies on board. Now, you know, you're generally going to be hero powering to enable this. It's kind of like a 3-mana play, but that's still good. And we've already seen these sorts of cards work well with that 3-drop 4/2 guy who summons 2/2s. I don't know his name. Some Demon Hunter 4/2 dude, I think is the official name. So this one's even more flexible in a way. Plus, with things like the hero card and all these token synergies we're seeing into play, like this suddenly starts to make a lot of sense and looks like a great early to mid-game option to fuel a lot of these token upsides and synergies. And just a way to like reload in the late game really affordably too if you need to. Plus there's some 1-mana weapons that might naturally curve very well into the Battle-Worn Vanguard. So that's another line to look out for. And, you know, this is like something they gotta kill too, which isn't going to be hard at 2 health, but it might still create some problems or friction for your opponent in a really powerful way. So another very, very good 2-drop as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so here we go. A 2-drop that I don't think is really, really good. It's the Corporal neutral 2-mana 2/3 with Honorable Kill. Give your other minions Divine Shield. So, you know, ideally here, you trade this in something 2 health and you got a big old wide board that you're stabilizing with some Divine Shield. In reality, I think that's just going to be too hard to pull off and too inconsistent. There aren't enough board states where that lines up well. You got to have enough minions on board to make it worth it. It doesn't even give itself Divine Shield if it survives. So all in all, I mean, what decks are going to be able to afford to run a card like this that doesn't have enough direction or guarantee or consistency? So yeah, I guess at the end of the day, it's just a little too hard to pull off and too inconsistent for not enough upside. The risk-reward balance here is all out of whack. And you don't want to run bad 2-drops that don't really ever do anything. All right, so here's another mediocre 2-drop, I think. The Sneaky Scout, neutral 2-mana 3/2 with stealth. And Honorable Kill, your next hero power cost 0. So we like that effect. We already talked about that previous 2-drop. The problem is here, it's conditional on this Honorable Kill. And, you know, the best thing about stealth minions with higher attacks and lower health is often going face. You want to just play them down, make sure they stick so that you can hit people in the face really hard with your stealth minions. You're not usually that excited to trade in stealth minions. Now, the occasional moments where there's exactly that 3 health minion because you've played this on 2 into a 3 health 3-drop and you get it and there's some hero power upside, like, sure, that exact scenario is fine. Not bad at all, but is your deck really going to be running a card like this to achieve that? I think that's exactly why this is a fine arena card. You're happy to play it on curve with some occasional upside. As far as standard is concerned, though, people are going to have way more directed game plans. There's just not going to be a real advantage to this. The Honorable Kill will be too inconsistent, which makes this a 2-mana 3/2 with stealth, which is okay. Some decks occasionally could care about that sort of thing, but most historically have had better stealth options as well. So all in all, I don't think the base version of this is really that compelling, and the Honorable Kill upside is just too limiting, too rare to really mean enough. Unreliable, unlike our previous 2-drops. So all in all, another card that just falls short. All right, next up is the Scrapsmith for Warrior. 3-mana 2/4 with Taunt. Battlecry, add 2/4 grunts with Taunt to your hand. Those are also going to be 3 mana. So this looks a bit like a Phantom Militia, but you get to keep the echoes in hand, so you can play this early in the game and still have some bodies. This plays really nicely in like hand buff stuff, both Taunt and otherwise for Warrior, so you can get some extra minions in hand to buff them nicely. And it's also just like 3 little speed bumps and disruption. And I kind of like a card like this, getting extra value, slowing down your opponent. I think that's something Warrior can use fairly successfully. Now, this isn't like crazy pushed from a stat standpoint. It's not going to own any games or shape any metas. But am I shocked if a deck runs this just to give it some early game consistency that can also play towards the late game by getting a couple extra bodies down, maybe some hand buff upside? Sure, I think it's rather viable in that regard. Moving on to Reconnaissance for Rogue, a 2-mana Discover a Death Rattle minion from another class. It costs 2 less. So Rogue's got a lot of Death Rattle stuff in this particular expansion. I'm still not sure this is the centerpiece it needed, though, to make all that come together. I still feel like we're missing something. I mean, this is free in essence because you're getting the discount back, but that does mean you're kind of banking this discount for a future turn, maybe trying to cheat out like a Dark Moon Tonk or something big a little earlier, and then, doubling up on those Death Rattles. That's cool. I'm going to have a lot of fun with that. I can't wait to do it. I do not see it being competitive yet. I don't think that deck has cemented itself. And although this is Discover, and although you are getting higher quality cards on average because of the class aspect of this, I still think it'll be really inconsistent what you get. Sometimes you'll get low-cost stuff. Sometimes you'll get high-cost stuff. So actually cementing a deck around that is still going to be a little bit too tough for me. So super-duper fun, not super competitive, I think. All right, so moving on here, we have the Cold Tooth Yeti for Rogue. 3-mana 1/5 combo, gain 3 attack. Then it's a Yeti, but for only 3 mana. And, a 3-mana 4/5 is big, but it's not that big anymore. And, we've seen big statted 3-mana things do some stuff in Rogue with like Edwin Van Cleef. This, although more consistent and easily achievable, doesn't have quite that upside. And I don't know if Rogue is going to care enough about these slightly bigger stats. I think they want to do more fancy stuff and play more cards in a given turn and cycle through things. I kind of like that this is almost cheap enough to play with like Battlecry or combo shenanigans, field contacts, and it goes a little taller. Most of their minions are smaller, but I think 3 mana is just too much. They want like 1 mana things and much faster cycling through plays. And like, yes, Cold Tooth Yeti is a good play in half of your games. I don't know that it's a game-winning play, though, and I think Rogue would probably rather use that coin or follow up for something that advances a more obvious game plan than just stats on board. So I think this card's fine. It's another one of those, like, probably awesome in-arena cards. Fine when you discover it sometimes. I don't know how many deck lists it actually makes, though. Moving on to Priest with Deliverance, a 3-mana spell. Deal 3 damage to a minion. Honorable Kill. Summon a new 3/3 copy of it. So a flanking strike, but you get the minion, you kill. So, ideally you get some awesome thing of your opponents and get a copy of that, and you reap some upside or benefit of what you've killed. Maybe it's a rush minion to take an immediate trade. Maybe it's got some cool effect or keyword. The downside here is the honorable kill. Like, I think this card's really only worth it if you get honorable kill, and I'm not sure how easy it's going to be to get honorable kills, particularly on prime targets. So, stealing like that big 8-drop late in the game or something, probably not all that easy for Priest to line up. They don't have that many great ways to do little chip damage and fixing damage totals. I've talked about this a lot as my example. Like Hunter has hyenas. You trade in hyenas, line up honorable kills, boom, you're good to go. Priest isn't quite as good at that. They have like holy smites and condemns and stuff, and like, yeah, there's certain ways, but dealing like increments of 1 in particular might be tough. So I think very often this is going to be awkward. Will it be good on turn 3 often enough to be worth it? I kind of doubt it. There's too many 4 health things, two health things floating around that I think often this will feel kind of stuck in hand. And then once it does finally line up, the upside just probably won't be worth it. So I think, unfortunately, Deliverance is awkward. Really good when it works, but it won't work often enough. Moving on to Spirit Guide, we almost have the opposite sort of card. Incredibly consistent card. 5 mana, 5/5 Taunt with Death Rattle, draw a Holy Spell and a Shadow Spell. So big old body, well, not giant, but solid size body for a 5 mana card, and some real nice card draw attached to this. We got Death Rattle synergies as well for like the hero card or otherwise. And, moving 2 cards in Priest is a big deal because Priest has historically lacked enough card draw. So this could be a great way to do that. I guess the question is, are you willing to commit 5 mana for that? I think you can in Priest. A lot of decks, this might actually feel too slow despite how much is going on, because opponents might just push through it and whack you really hard. But I think Priest has enough survivability, enough recovery, enough Death Rattle synergies that slotting this in probably won't feel like too big of a commitment, and then you get this really nice draw upside. It's also a tutor technically, so you can draw really specific cards if needed, if they line up with that either holy or shadow alignment. There's other ways for Priest to do that, but an additional one might not hurt. So all in all, this card just does a lot for a 5 mana card. Drawing 2, taunt, stats are reasonable, so it looks very good. There is, that chance, like, it does everything pretty well, but it doesn't necessarily do anything great. It's not like super cheap card draw. It's not a really big taunt. It's not like the best Death Rattle synergy for stabilization. So it could be one of those cards that makes almost like too much sense. It's like, man, this guy is an 8 out of 10 across the board, but he's never a 10 out of 10. Sometimes those cards don't make the cut. So this one makes a lot of sense. I think it'll get there because of just how much it does, but don't be totally surprised. Next up is the Mountain Bear. Polar Bear comes to Hearthstone. 7 mana, 5/6 beast for Hunter. It's got Taunt and Death Rattle. Summon 2/4 cubs with Taunt. So a big old pile of Taunt action here on the Mountain Bear. And I love cards like this. I want cards like this to succeed so bad in Hearthstone. Is like big, defensive, greedy, Death Rattle-y stuff. Like, this is awesome to me. And it does have some Death Rattle synergies and some big beast synergies. We got like that Wing Commander Ickman card for something like this. So there's kind of a package coming together there for Hunter. That said, right now Hunter wants to play way faster. Frankly, the meta wants to play way faster than I think a card like this really warrants. So at the moment, I don't see Mountain Bear getting there. I think it's just a little too slow. Big commitment to your deck to kind of line this thing up. And Ickman, same problem, like super slow and greedy. So I will try my best to make this card work. Unfortunately, I do not think it'll work especially well. Kurtrus Demon Render is a 5-star card. Can I give him 6? He's really good. Pathmaker is a 4-star card. Amplified Snowflurry is a 4-star card. Clawfury Adept, Clawfury Adept. I don't know if he's a furry, but he's a 4-star card. Battle-Worn Vanguard is a 4-star card. Corporal is a 1-star card. Sneaky Scout is a 2-star card. Scrapsmith is a 3-star card. Reconnaissance is a 2-star card. Cold Tooth Yeti is a 3-star card. Deliverance is a 2-star card. Spirit Guide is a 4-star card. Mountain Bear is a 2-star card. All right, there you go. That's it for this review. I was waiting for a review from IGN. We're supposed to have a card reveal 5 minutes ago. I thought it might be a legendary, but has not arrived. So we're going to go ahead and ship this review as is with Kurtrus here as the all-star. What do you guys think of these cards? What do you like? What do you hate? Is Kurtrus indeed 6 stars? I want to hear those thoughts and more in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and until next time, game on.